Thank you everyone for joining us today for the sixth session, if I'm correct, of the SEACAP training activities. As you know, SEACAP for SDG project is an NECBC Med funded project, and is going to capitalize on the selected reference projects and outcomes selected from other initiatives and programs. Today, we have continue the training regarding the MetaCosur project and the tool for retrofit solutions and the cross-border living lab that was developed during this project. And we have today with us Dr. Gisela Calgano that is going to continue her previous presentation regarding the steps that are needed. And if I'm correct, yesterday we had a presentation about the 5-step methodology from Professor Trobadora, and we get into and we further discuss the first step that was the knowledge framework, and now we are continuing with the second step, that is the analysis of criticalities. So I give the floor to Dr. Gisela Calgano to start with her presentation regarding this outcome of the MetaCosur project and the specific step that we want to discuss today. So you can share your screen, exactly. We can see your screen now.
Thank you very much, Panagiotta, also for summarizing what happened yesterday. And can I start?
Yes, of course, yes. You can start. I just want to ask everyone if they have questions or something, they can also use the chat if they don't wish to speak or they're not comfortable that way. So thank you very much. You can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to you. We are in the second phase of the renovation process. In a moment in which we have built a knowledge framework related to our pilot building to renovate. So the phase of analysis of criticalities regards as the objective of elaborating data and information collected in the phase 1, the knowledge framework. And this data information are elaborated to highlight the criticalities that the renovation project has to address in the following phase, that will be the phase 3, planning and design. So it is an in-between moment between the existing building and the future building that we will develop in the third phase. And it is the moment in which we have to understand which are the criticalities of the building. What is this analysis of criticalities? It is a comprehensive evaluation of the pilot building's performances in relation to the overarching renovation objectives and referring to the predefined targets in phase 0. As explained yesterday, we defined these 4 main overarching renovation objectives that refer to energy efficiency, architectural quality, environmental impact, and indoor comfort. And so the criticalities that we are going to search and to find in the existing buildings refers, for example, to inefficient plant systems or to low energy performances. Or criticalities can regard the architectural side, the architectural elements, and so the obsolescence of the elements, in particular in the envelope. But other kind of criticalities can regard the perception of indoor comfort, and so the low comfort perceived from the occupants. Other criticalities more related to the environmental impact of the public building under investigation can be, for example, the absence of any renewable sources production in the building, or its very high environmental impact. This phase of analysis search to integrate all these analyses in order also to understand which are the interrelation between the different aspects of renovation. In particular, our toolkit, as reminded yesterday, is dedicated to valorize the contribution of the Living Lab in supporting more efficient renovation processes. And it is for this reason that people have a strategical role inside the Living Lab. And according to their role and their position in the university community or in relation to stakeholders, that we can define for these phases, which are who are the main contributors to these phases. As the activity is start from researchers that provide with innovative methodologies to conduct the analysis of criticalities. And they have to be competent of all the aspects of the 4 aspects of renovation. And so they are usually architects, energy engineers, technical physicians, or others. Building and energy managers that are the customers of the Living Lab, the one that will use and exploit the results. In this phase, have the role of acknowledging their current approach to analyze the criticalities of their building stock, but also have the opportunity, thanks to the Living Lab, to experience new approaches. Also, students that are the main users of university buildings will be also engaged in the phase of this phase of analysis, and this will be a very good occasion for them to learn new methodologies and tools to investigate the criticalities of existing buildings. This phase is also open to external stakeholders, in particular to companies that can supply with the innovative tools for analysis of criticalities, for example, simulation tools, or also public organizations such as associations or NGOs can be engaged to underline and support the creation of awareness on the impact of different criticalities. For example, if there is at local scale an association streaming with working about the problems of health in the workplaces, for example, it could be a good occasion to create events or a moment of dialogue to let people understand which is the contribution of spaces or in general of architecture in guaranteeing also the health and the well-being of its occupant. So the Living Lab, we are trying to give this idea of a Living Lab as something that is continually constructed by the same actors that are involved inside it. Going to the how, we created, as you can see, it is easier in comparison to the previous activity. These are the activities that can be performed in the Living Lab and the workflow. So the phase starts with the set of minimal requirements, go through the performance of simulations, of the virtual simulations on the building. The third activity refers to the discovering of criticalities, and the activity finishes with the definition of the framework of needs. We will see for each activity which will be the deliverable and the milestones. So the first activity to conduct an analysis of criticalities is the setting of minimal requirements. The idea is to collect all the minimal requirements in force in a national and local normative governing the transformation of existing buildings according to the different destination use of the public building under investigation. If for some reason it is not possible to recover this normative reference at local level, or maybe if they are not developed, it is possible to reference also to international standards. These requirements refers to the 4 renovation aspects that represent the main assets of our renovation framework. And the objective of this setting up is that we need to understand, in comparison to actual performance, which are the minimal requirement by laws. Because the idea is that if we would like with our living lab to reach a very ambitious renovation target, if we have a very ambitious target, at least the renovation project has to comply with the minimal requirements. That is the minimal essential to have a successful renovation project. So the activity, for example, the activity is related to the review, to an attentive review of the national or local regulation or international standards related to that specific aspect related to the different 4 objectives of architecture. And we will see, for example, for architecture, it will be interesting, for example, to collect which are the minimal performance of the envelope, both opaque and transparent. And so we can create an easy to read table in which to define which are the aspects under investigation, which is the normative reference, which is the minimal requirement, its value, and so starting to understand if our building, according to our knowledge framework, comply or not with this indication. For example, for the energy aspects, national regulations or local regulation can set the minimal value for the performance in summer or in the winter season. And or they can set the minimal requirement for the efficiency of the plant systems or the efficiency of the artificial lighting. And so in this moment we have to define in a structured way all these data referred to the minimal requirements. And we can also do this for the aspect related to comfort. For example, as you are seeing, this normative reference refers to the Italian situation. And it is for this reason that each local living lab has to elaborate our own set of minimal requirements. For example, the aspect of comfort, visual quality, thermohygrometric comfort, acoustic, all of them can be referred to, in this case, are national standards, referring, for example, to the light factor or to illumination, to the level of sound pressure, defining specific value to don't at the base. This first activity can be conducted inside the living lab by the 2 main groups of researchers and building energy managers. And together, working together in cooperation, they can organize an implementable normative review of this minimal requirement, influencing building renovation aspects. The importance to have a structured normative check review is that we can also take in account the evolution of the normative. And this can be a very supporting tool to accompany not only the specific renovation projects, but also the future one that will be implemented by the university or the municipality. Another deliverable that is okay, and this can origin a real deliverable that can also be used as the learning materials for students. And so to let them aware of the existence of this minimal requirement to regulate the transformation of our existing building. Going to the second activity, so we set this minimal requirement. Now we have to compare to understand if the performance of our building comply or not with these minimal requirements. From the knowledge framework, we have some data about the performance of the building, but sometimes the energy and environment, some energy and environmental performance of buildings require complex calculations, also according to national regulations. And it is for this reason that the simulation tools can help in giving a database insight on the pilot building's performance. Simulations are created modeling the data and information collected in the previous phase of the knowledge framework, and consent to define a baseline of the existing building that will be very useful to proceed with the following phases of the renovation project. There are a lot of simulation tools present in the market, and we can do a simple distinction between commercial and specialist simulation tools. The commercial are usually more rigid and have some limitations, for example, in the setting of the plant system, while the specialists are usually more flexible and consent a total customization of the data to insert and to elaborate. But for this reason, they're required to be used by experts instead of the commercial one that can be more user-friendly. Another point for commercial simulation tools is that they can include algorithms that comply with the national regulations, and so these tools can be used also for energy certifications. But there are a lot of difference between in the realm of simulation tools. But one of the key factors that can influence our choices of the best simulation tools, and this is particularly in the Mediterranean area, is the difference between static and dynamic models. Because simulation tools using static models, for example, consider only one reference for the winter or summer period. Instead, dynamic models consent to acknowledge the variation of external environment conditions in a span of time that can be also referred to hours. And this is very important in the Mediterranean area because it let us it consents us to consider the contribution of solar radiation and the changing of condition across the day. Some example of simulation tools to be improved are the one that consents us to perform an analysis of the environmental context. And usually these kind of simulation are done for new buildings. Instead, in this moment, we are always trying to understand the behavior of the actual building. And so looking at the weather data, for example, or to the sun path, we can conduct a shadow analysis that allowing us to deeper our analysis of the building. For example, the sun path is very useful also to understand which surfaces of the building are more under pressure, and also to understand the volumetry in comparison to the weather data. Other kinds of simulation, for example, this one of solar radiation and thermal contribution, consent us to, in a very intuitive way, to understand which is the amount of solar radiation impacting to the various surfaces of our building, and also to understand the surrounding how the surrounding volumetries influence the behavior of our buildings, not only buildings, but also, for example, trees or vegetal elements. Going deeply in, for example, in the opaque envelope, another kind of very important simulations are the one describing the thermohygrometric performance of the envelope in a dynamic way. And so this software consents us, starting from stratigraphy and the different materials composing the opaque envelope, to understand not only the transmittance, but also that other thermohygrometric parameters that really describe the buildings under changing external conditions, such as the phase shift, the attenuation, the periodic thermal capacity, the penetration depth, and also the hygrothermal condition of the envelope. Other kind of softwares are directly connected with the national regulations. So they have the algorithm to calculate the energy performance according to the law. And this kind of softwares usually have the opportunity, are usually more easier to adopt and give the opportunity to directly discover the energy class, for example, of the building, and so to produce energy certification valid for that specific country. According to us, it's very interesting also the possibility of more recent software to understand the exact contribution of the different elements of the envelope on the energy consumptions for heating and for cooling. For example, in this image, we can see how the wall conduction impact on heating and cooling, so in the 2 moments of the year. And also this kind of visualization let us better to understand which are the criticalities and which instead are the part of the envelope that are working well. Finally, another kind of analysis possible thanks to simulation tools is the analysis of daylight, not only daylight but also artificial light, with this software consenting us, thanks to the definition of the envelope of the opaque and the transparent part of the envelope, and according to the specific location of the building, to understand the distribution of the daylight factor and of the illuminance. Going on, softwares for the simulation are evolving in very different forms, and with even more possibilities to analyze not only energy performance, but also other aspects that are more related to environment or to other kind of certification, or, for example, to connect with that very important environmental objectives, for example, the calculation of life cycle assessment. That is for this reason that we will dedicate a special session to this analysis, this kind of analysis. The performance of simulations, looking at the living lab, we can sustain that researchers are the one who select the best simulation tools according to the different disciplines and competencies. Building and energy managers are involved in the living lab, both because they have experience of simulation tools, or if not, they can the Living Lab is the right situation to experience new simulation tools. Also students can participate to this activity, learning new tools to support their professional formation. Also companies can be involved, in particular, for example, software house that can be interested in showcase their software, their simulation software. Also public organization can be interesting in this, the adoption of these performance tools. Can be interesting in deepening the analysis of their building stock, and so can, for example, contact the Living Lab to analyze the criticalities of their building stock. Also, these activities origins a deliverable that is a simulation protocol that is defined together by researchers and building energy managers, and this optimizes that according to the degree of competence and resources of university and building managers that, as we remembered also yesterday, have a key role in determining the evolution of the tools and technique inside the public administrations. So they have to be willing to innovate their modus operandi. This simulation protocol can also be used to deliver new knowledge to students, so as a learning material. The same activity, beyond this more capitalizing operation, also deliver a milestone, that is the simulation report of the specific energy environmental performance of the pilot building, that, combined with knowledge framework, consents to define a more stable baseline. Because, as we already said, it is very difficult to find in existing documents, so in a knowledge framework, all the data related to the performance. So simulation consents us to complete the framework, and so to define the baseline. And this baseline, in fact, will be very useful for discovering the criticalities. That is the third activity of this phase. Because starting from the retrieved performance and the simulated performance, we define a baseline that we have to compare both with the minimal requirement by law, the one that we searched before, and to the predefined quality targets in phase 0. So the renovation project for sure has to overcome the gap between the minimal requirement and the existing building. And instead, the reaching of the predefined quality targets is the main objective of the renovation project. Obviously, these criticalities has to be analyzed for each aspect of the different of the four main aspects. No, for example, for architecture, this is an example. We are looking, for example, at the opaque envelope at the walls. We can have the performance of transmittance, thermal resistance, and thermal displacement. And we have to compare the baseline, the actual performance, both with the minimal requirement and the target value. And this has been done for all the elements composing the architectural aspects, so the ground floor, the roof, the walls, the windows. The activity of discovery criticalities is performed by the two actors of researchers and building and energy managers, and they have to strongly collaborate and to be coordinated in order to account all the aspects and parameters that, if we consider the four main renovation aspects, can be a lot of aspects to look on. This activity finished with the definition of the milestone report of criticalities. That is a descriptive report where all the different analyses performed are described, and all the emerging criticalities are well highlighted. It is important to do a elaborated report of criticalities, because more is elaborated, more easier will be to find the needs of the actual building for renovation. Okay, the last activity foreseen in this phase is related to the definition of the framework of needs. Needs represents the translation of criticalities in terms of interventions necessary to overcome the criticalities. And so, for example, if the criticality discovered in the previous activity is the high transmittance of the opaque envelope, our need is to insulate the opaque envelope. And it is very important in this very early phase of design, because it's a pre-design activity, that to identify the stakeholder to involve. For example, in the case of installation of opaque envelope, it can be very useful to enter immediately in contact with companies of innovative components and materials for the insulation, but also with stakeholders that can have a particular weight in the authorization process, such as public offices. Also, this activity, all the analysis of criticalities is mostly performed by researchers and building energy managers. And the identification of, but in this case, the identification of the framework of need is very useful to identify the companies to involve in the following phase of the renovation project. Okay, we finished this second phase of the renovation process, and we will enter to the third and central, the heart of the renovation process. Before to do this, if Panagiote is okay, we would like to do some to ask some answers to you related to the three phases: leading labs, setting up, knowledge framework, and analysis of criticalities that we saw today, to understand, also to involve all of you in a discussion about this.
Of course, thank you very much, Dr. Galgano, for your presentation regarding the second step of the analysis of the criticalities that included the criteria and the benchmarking. Regarding from the participants, are there any questions that we want to state at this time regarding the second step? For Dr. Galgano?
No, before to go to the
yes.
step, we would like to create this activity in Answer Garden. We will try to do some questions to participants, and thanks to a link that we will share in the chat of the Zoom application, everyone can be able to give an answer.
Okay, this is good. Do you want to send it to the chat?
Yes.
Really quick? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just a moment to organize this thing.
Yes, of course. I invite all the participants to answer this kind of question.
To animate the...
Dr. Galgano, maybe if you stop sharing your screen, it would be easier for you to
It's okay. I found everything.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you very much. I asked participants to look on the chat of Zoom and to open this link and try to answer to this first question that is related to the phase 0, living lab setting up. And the question is, which is, according to you, the main mission of a living lab? Now we will solve together the generation of answers from participants. If you click on the link in the chat, you will enter in this page and you can try to give some answer that we will comment together with Professor Trombadore.
Okay, I'm here, I'm with you. Dobbiamo... Riesci tu a chiudere? Parlo. Okay, we have to computer very closed. Okay, so we have some problem with the acoustic problem, but I think we can solve it. So we propose you to have this kind of question in order to refresh the lesson of yesterday, the communication of yesterday, but overall in order to fix which are the main mission, no, the main activity and the mission, especially the mission of the Living Lab. Generally, we use this kind of tool. It is Answer Garden because I think it's very user-friendly tool, and it's possible to share with all the audience, all the participants to the meeting, to the workshop, some idea. In this way, it's possible to visualize, to have a good visualization of the answer, exploring the more activity and the more diffused, no, thinking about the question. So we are stressing you to answer and to put more than one, so you can add 2 or 3 or 4 keywords or some short sentence in order to populate the answer garden, suggesting other idea to implement the Living Lab activity and to implement the Living Lab mission. So generally we dedicate a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, give the time to write some sentence. Oh yes, let me suggest another answer, because we are more focalizing collaborative, create a collaborative space. That is one of the best mission of the Living Lab. But another one, I think, is to help the public administration, the owner of the building, to set a very advanced target. So don't forget the utility of the Living Lab to coach the public administration and to support the public administration in order to have a vision. So a better vision. Before the architect Gisella Calcagno showed us how it's possible to move the baseline not only to the minimum requirement, but to move above this and push the attention in the very good level of the target. Okay. So many answers relate collaborative to co-create knowledge is correct, is a very good opportunity to have inside the building, so in the physical place of the building, a physical space where it's possible to co-create knowledge with the company, with the main stakeholder, with the researcher and the student. Of course, all your answers are corrected and are perfectly in line with the mission of the Living Lab. So we are really happy to to see and to have this kind of feedback from you. We can save this answer. We can share later with all of the participants to this day. Okay, it's a very interesting the answer to have the opportunity to take an active role. Because sometimes the stakeholders are involved, but without any rule. So only like an audience, a passive audience. So I think for the students as well as for the technicians or for the public administration or the company, it's very important to have a space where it's possible to have and to give some contribution in an active way. So thank you for this aspect because it is very important to underline as a mission of Living Lab. Okay. I think we can move to the second question that are very, very linked and related to the first one, which are the most important activities in the Living Lab. So it is related to the mission. So how can we implement the mission throughout some special activities? There is the link for the second question.
Thank you very much.
So we can move in the other.
One question regarding this, the aspects that we are, in order to help also the participants, we are looking for what activities they want to see inside the Living Lab, whether there is training, whether there is the kind of simulation that you mentioned earlier, this kind of examples, right? Correct?
Now, could you repeat, please?
In order to help the participant answer this question better, what kind of activities we would like to see as examples? We would like to see, for example, training seminars. We would like to see workshops. We would like to see some kind of simulation, Living Lab simulation that you mentioned earlier, something like that as activity.
Yes, it is. We explored this aspect yesterday when I described the activity of the Living Lab. All you mentioned is correct. So, which is the activity, the main activity of the Living Lab to reach the mission. Okay, so to create some workshop experience, to create some seminar, to develop some coaching activities. So this kind of activity we need to explore and to underline. No, so it's not only a design experience that the Living Lab has to do, but also many activity to support the public administration and to stimulate, of course, and to stress all the stakeholders to have an active role. So just an idea and other solution to implement this kind of cooperative space, no? Which are the main activities related to the communication or dissemination activity, which are the more active, more proactive solution for this. So some idea about we need some idea to implement the activity. So, of course, our living space, it is an open space for the researcher, for the student, but some idea about innovative activity, just to explore this opportunity with you. The idea is here to overcoming, the idea of the meeting. I think the meeting is not enough to create a co-design space. Maybe creating a common platform, maybe creating a common database or a tool to fostering the co-design activity. So we need to share with you some idea about advanced activity to stimulate an open space, and cooperative open space, according to your experience. Yes, sure, dissemination of best practice involving actual customers through our organizational workshop. Create space of dialogue. This is very interesting, but how can we foster the dialogue? Oh, ICT infrastructure and support resources. Yes, I think it is very interesting. Okay, if there are no other answer. Yes, dissemination best practice, we can see now in the next activity how it's possible to create an abacus, a common platform of good experience to share. Okay, thank you. We can move to the third question.
Okay, thank you very much. I think these results are really interesting. And of course, we move on with the third question regarding the main stakeholders.
Yes, the third question is related to the main stakeholder to involve. If you have any idea, maybe we forget some key player, no? So if you suggest other stakeholder, or according to your experience, which is the main stakeholder or other person in charge to take part in this living lab. So about the business sector, what do you mean? So the financial companies like banks or other financial supporter? because the budget is a key question when we set a scenarios. Now I will present you this key aspect, no, to relate the budget to the mix of technology. So how is possible to select according to the different criteria, because an economical criteria could be more strategical, or sometimes will represent a barrier, no, to be solved. Students, of course, anymore. We need more fantasy to check and to investigate for other stakeholders. Because when we create the map of stakeholders, it's very important to have a deep investigation and to understand the level of involvement and the powership of each stakeholder typology. It is a very, very important step to search, to select, and to analyze the powership or the possibility to the level of involvement of different stakeholders. Yes, I think other research center is very strategical, and especially with the network activity of the Living Lab. For this, we are very stressing for the creation, and from this MedEcoShow project, it is very active, the creation of cross-border Living Lab. So like a common platform in order to collect and to share the experience among the different research centers, because we have the similar problem to solve, and the innovation about technological aspect, otherwise the innovation in the approach, it's very similar. So we need to share our experience, our best practice and knowledge. So we are here for this reason, otherwise. Okay, I think we can complete this first group of questions related to the Living Lab, and we ask a few minutes more to complete another answer garden related to the first phase. About the knowledge framework. So according to your experience, which kind of data, which typology of data are more difficult to collect? Data relate building geometry, building performance, energy performance, or economical, like the bill amount, or some quantitative or qualitative aspect. So please. Because for us, it was very, very difficult to merge the different data and to check and to investigate and to collect, because the data related to different office, to different manager. So sometimes the geometrical data are in charge of technical office. Instead, the energy consumption is under the administrative office. And generally, 2 or 3 offices didn't communicate each other. So for us, it was very difficult to meet them and to have a cross-fertilization of the different offices related to this kind of problem to solve. And another aspect for the existing public building is related to the performance data of the building. because generally it's not easy to carry on a monitoring or an evaluation of the envelope, no? To understanding the layer of the envelope or the material of construction. So sometimes it's very difficult to have a test of the performance of the envelope or to measure air quality without a monitoring protocol or without installing some sensor or for instance, evaluation the transmittance with a thermocamera or other tool and instrument. Behavior, I think you are referring the user behavior, okay? So the behavior related to the occupants and user. Okay. Exactly, basic typology, especially older building. Yes, sometimes in the older building there are no plan in DVG, but only printed plan. So it's necessary to transfer in the digital software the printed version of the old plan, or maybe to create again a geometrical survey or again to check the dimension of some building space. Okay, I know that not only in Italy, but everywhere we have this similar problem to solve, especially to create a more effective knowledge framework. We have similar problem to monitor and to check the detailed energy consumption data, of course, the kilowatt or the heat loss. Okay, thank you. We will save all the of the sketch of this answer. Another question related to the knowledge framework is how do you usually account comfort in indoor space? So we are asking you if you generally use some sensor or some tool in order to evaluate the comfort of in indoor space. It is a key aspect in order to move from the performance to the qualitative aspect, so the evaluation of qualitative aspect. Okay, visual comfort, thermal comfort, but how do you measure this? Generally, did you use some sensor or you have an analytic monitoring protocol to do this, or only with general overview, or maybe from a questionnaire, no? Describing if the level is good, is enough, or it is dangerous. No, it is not comfortable. Do you use any tool for this, any instrument? Or maybe you don't account. I like this answer because it's very, really. Because for instance, in Italy, many buildings, we have not any data about the indoor comfort. We need to measure this. Ventilation, I suppose it is natural ventilation or mechanical ventilation. This is very difficult to measure because it's a dynamic quantity. So to have indoor temperature. Okay. Okay, thank you for this answer. It is a very interesting picture of the common problem. And the last one is, which kind of data management system, if is any in the building, do you use? This question is interesting in order to understand if the building are monitoring or not, if is there a management system, or when we approach a retrofitting action, we have to start creating a very critical knowledge framework. And this is important when we discuss with the owner or the stakeholder, because without any picture of the state of art of the building, of the critical situation of the building, it's difficult to propose some retrofitting scenario. Otherwise, we decide for the typical solution, typical technological solution without investigate the real criticalities in the building. Or BMS, very advanced. It is not so popular in Italy, especially in the old building, to found a building management system, building energy management system. Sometimes there is only some timer to switch on and switch off the heating and cooling system, or generally something to define the temperature, but not an automation like a software, a general software to control all the combination of the different systems. Okay, only one answer. This is the only one.
I think this question was kind of tricky or difficult to answer because some of the participants here maybe don't know what kind of system is used in their buildings, or regarding the experts, maybe some do not really use, or maybe BMS, as it was stated, is one of the most popular here in Greece, at least for our case. And so we have to think about this in a little more detail.
Yes, but don't worry, because interesting to analyze the level, the level of knowledge of the different target. I know that our target today is a very homogeneous or dishomogeneous maybe, but it's very important to have a real picture, of the knowledge of the people, but it is a great answer. Okay. Okay. Thank you for this aspect, and few minutes for the last three questions related to the analysis of criticalities, okay? This question, I think, could be more easy. Because it's possible to answer according to the feeling, you know, if you know the building, maybe. No attention to energy saving. This is a common problem now. But now I think with the increasing of the cost of energy, we need to put more attention for the energy saving. So if the audience is no technicians, maybe it's difficult to analyze. Yes, if the energy consumption. Yes, it is very interesting because generally we suppose a reduction of energy consumption, but we analyzing the building, we foreseen this problem because especially for the summer season, so for the air conditioning, for the energy consumption will increase because they had more element, had more fitting, no, to have more air conditioning and more comfort during summer season. So instead to have a reduction of energy consumption, we assist an increasing of energy consumption. Maybe sometimes the plan are hold, so there is no a good efficiency of the system. So the answer more related to the energy consumption. Okay, we try to stimulate in you and to expand the overview of the building, integrating some aspect related to the envelope, especially the windows, the performance of the wall. I know that it is a more technical aspect, and sometimes it's easier to solve the energy demand and the energy consumption, reducing and changing the energy plans. But we are trying to complete the overview, introducing passive solution, the architectural aspect, so to analyze the building like an organism. So not only the performance of mechanical plans. Utilization of the lighting. Yeah. Non-utilization of the lighting is very interesting answer, okay, because sometimes when we assist in our building, especially in the south exposition of the facade, they shut down all the windows and switch on the light. So there is no a good utilization of the lighting inside. Okay, thank you for this question, and maybe it's more technical question, the second one, But if you know if there are any simulation tool or if you use any simulation tools to evaluate the criticalities. So if you know that the building has been simulated in a virtual way or creating a digital twin, not only simulate the energy performance. I suppose this is an Italian answer, pan and anit, according to Italian regulation. Okay, BIM, great. In the next presentation, I think tomorrow, the BIM expert, Juan Camillo Lano, will present the benefit of the application of the BIM in order to control in a very totally overview the building data and especially the simulation of the building performance. So it is the good part, the best part that we propose. GFD tool, I don't know GFD tool, but I suppose it is another software tool. Okay, I know that it is very, very technical answer. The last one, it is very, very critical. How do you usually discover the criticalities? If it is a feeling with the building or by comfort of my body, it's very nice answer and very useful because we are the best tool to discover the comfort. Especially the psychological effect on our health and well-being. Okay, measuring device. This is more scientific. So we have here the qualitative as well as the quantitative data. This is the two big family, the two big different family of data. Okay, thank you for this. I think we can, oh, energy performance assessment, great. Because generally the existing building are not assessed. Now for the new building, of course, the national or international regulation ask for an assessment before to build, just for the improvement of the design phase. So it's very interesting to have a good performance, energy performance assessment. Okay, I think we can stop here, and if there are any questions, any comments about this aspect, this question. I like to be more interactive with you. Otherwise, I'm feeling alone without any feedback.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Professor Trovadore. I think that the answers we received so far can showcase, as you mentioned earlier, the different kinds of stakeholders that we have today with us. And also we have some different point of views showcased within the answers from the tools that were used, and here for the answers by the comfort of my body and energy performance assessment. So I don't know if there is any more question that should be asked for you by the participants today.
Okay, maybe they need a coffee, so we can have
So maybe at this
coffee
time we
break.
should have a small coffee break for 15 minutes, maybe it's best, and be back at it's 4:25-ish CET. We should be back in 10 to 15 minutes. So thank you very much. And then we will continue with the next part of the presentation. And thanks to all the participants that have answered this answer garden today. And we hope to also receive this kind of answers after your assessment and of course, the input we have provided this day. Thank you.
Thank you and see you later.
Thank you, bye. So I believe some time has passed for our short break and we can you hear me all right?
Yes, now.
Okay, thank you. So technical difficulties, of course. So I think some time have passed from our short break and the useful previous session that we had and the answer regarding that we had the chance to complete. So at this time, we can continue with the next step from this methodology, from this toolkit, as we can say, that is the planning and design step. And I believe that the presentation will be done by Professor Trovadore per the project, if I'm correct. So Professor Trovadore, I give you the floor. You can continue with your presentation.
Thank you, Panagiotta. Thank you very much. Let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, could you see the screen? Could you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it in full screen. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we are in the third phase. I think it is the heart of the renovation process because based on the knowledge framework phase and the other analysis of criticalities, now we have all the data and we have the real knowledge of the building. So it is possible to start with the most creative phases of planning and design. In this phase, the criticalities of existing building can become opportunities. So we can transfer, we can implement and change the criticalities in opportunities. How? Of course, throughout a design phase, throughout the investigation of the best scenarios, integrating architectural solution to complete the retrofitting process of the pilot building. Of course, the planning and design phase can highly benefit from the living lab activity. In this phase, the rule and the activity and all the people involved in the living lab will play a very key role to support the designer, to support the engineer, to open their mind, to have a vision above the minimal requirement. So in these phases, it's very interesting to have an integrated design project approach. It's very important to establish a good relation between all the stakeholders because it's very interesting to have a co-definition. So establish the research, the integration, the assessment. We need a very multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary approach, converging and merging all the objectives in this kind of phase. So we need to complete and to orient now the knowledge in the design phase to solve, of course, the criticalities of the building. But it is not only a collection of technology, but the very challenge of the design phase is to integrate and to evaluate which is the best mix of technologies. And it is very important because now we can see that each technology has a benefit, has an impact, but has a cost. So it is very interesting to analyze this kind of combination according to our main pillars, no? So architectural quality or indoor comfort, environmental impact, and energy efficiency that we establish as four drivers of our project. So in this phase, we apply all the knowledge, we apply all the activity involving company, as we can see now, involving students. So it is really the core of the rehabilitation and retrofitting process of our building. Who are involved? All the people are involved, all the stakeholders, starting from building energy manager, because their knowledge, their current approach to design renovation project, experience changing with the new approach. So it is a good opportunity for them to overcoming their past experience and to investigating a good co-design approach. For the researcher, the university researcher, because in this way it's possible to provide with innovative design methodology. It is a very good challenge to investigate the best practice and to investigate the main technology that is possible to allow in the market, but combining the best part, combining the best mix of technology. So not only architect, but it's possible to involve energy efficient, energy engineering, mechanical engineers, and so on. For the company is the key rule, the key phase, because they can assist the designer and the engineer proposing material, proposing innovative solution, maybe defining a new components. So this is the phase to experiment, if it's possible, innovative solution. So it is a very creative phases, and it is a very the stage where it's possible to converge in the same challenge. For the public organization, it's a crucial period, it's a crucial time, because of course they are interested in exploring innovative and eco-sustainable projects, and especially for them it's very important to support the Living Lab, maybe throughout the dissemination activity, or maybe stimulating the awareness of people or other citizens or other associations in order to expand the experience of the Living Lab. And for the student, it is a very stimulating moment, especially for the co-design approach, investigating innovative scenarios and innovative design solutions. So the activity are very, very heavy because they need a very good effort and very good involvement of everybody. The first step that we suggest in order to start comparing with the white paper to find a good solution is to get inspired by best practice. Then we can identify the strategies and technologies to build, of course, the renovation scenarios, and in parallel, in order to have a design support system to stimulate the scenarios, to choose the best one, and of course, to plan the intervention in order to elaborate the single project. So this is the path that we propose and we share with you today. I'm sharing with you today. Starting from the first activity, so get inspired by best practice, which is the meaning. We are not the first designer, we are not the first engineers that are approaching this kind of problem. So maybe we can search other experience at national or international level, exploring architectural project or exploring the marketing innovation, no? Exploring the innovative and eco-sustainable university building, but with a particular vision, the particular sector of Mediterranean area. So don't forget that we are in a Mediterranean context when the architectural aspect is a very key topic, the cultural aspect as well. So the materials, the technology, everything that we mentioned yesterday, now is the moment to take care, to put more attention in the design phase. So this is the moment where all together, if it's possible in a co-design process, we need to investigate which strategies and which technologies. So combining the two levels of strategical approach and practical choice of element, of technological element and materials. We propose this kind of methodology, selecting the case studies, have a critical view of the case studies, because we have to search, taking in consideration our target. Don't forget that in the phase 0, we define with the owner and with the other stakeholder the target. So we need to compare and to investigate and to explore the architectural solution that we can consider best practice, comparing with our target. And then create a data collection in order to enlarge the database and in order to create a very best practice to share again. So create a collaborative platform and create a common open system, open data source. For instance, for example, when we start with our project in Florence, we collect best practice both with a look in the renovation project as well as in the new design. Why? Of course, the renovation project present more criticalities very similar to our project. But maybe in the new one, in the new design, there are some innovation that is possible to investigate and to transfer in our retrofitting action. So we analyze many cases. Of course, we select the case throughout some critical aspect and different point, and we organize this in some data sheet. About new construction, as I mentioned, it was very interesting to analyze the innovative level, the solution that can be very inspiring for the design process. As you can see, for each project, we analyze in a very deep way the criticalities that they mention in the building and how they answer and to transform in opportunity, and which kind of solution, starting from the architectural solution to the technological element and the selection of innovative or sustainable or ecological material. For example, this is the Scientific University in Bordeaux in France. It is a renovation project. So we collect, of course, the general information of the building, the site, the location, the climatic zone, the typology of building, the year of construction and of refurbishment. So we prefer to check in a very short period, no, in order to investigate the more innovative solution, not so old. And it is very interesting to analyze the architectural description that we can investigate in the website or contactly directing the project company involved in this retrofitting action. And after we organize this information, take in consideration some aspect. So all the technological element, but also all the building elements. So the envelope, the vertical wall, the opaque wall, as well as the transparent, so the windows, the ground roof, the ground floor, the roof, the element related to the daylighting or to the comfort inside. So some indicators, some element that we create like a element to organize our knowledge, because we can create a printed version of this kind of database, but it could be very useful to create a virtual database, so interactive. So it's possible to organize this with tag and meta tag, so applying some knowledge reference for the data management. The other aspect is to search and to investigate a lot in the details. The details relating bioclimatic strategies or a solution for the envelope, analyzing the materials, analyzing the opportunity to install, so the feasibility of this kind of solution in our project. So comparing different aspects, comparing the technological innovation, but otherwise the feasibility, the opportunity to install this solution instead than another one. And proposing a very integrating solution with the natural ventilation, with the implementation of the lighting. So searching for the solution, implementing more than one benefit. It is a strategical aspect that we can see when we combine in this solution in the different scenarios, because analyzing the benefit of architectural solutions sometimes it's a strategical design, because we can take much more benefit than only one changing of component. Another example is the University of Catania in the south of Italy. We collect the element and the data about the criticalities. It was very similar for some aspect. We'd explored the envelope. They described in a very deep way the criticalities related to the energy performance of the envelope of the building, the lack of insulation, the lack of very good material. So the very basic performance of window and facade and roof. So another aspect that we investigate, and first of all, we prefer this kind of example because they propose a mix of technologies. They propose a new skin, so to create a double skin, create a new envelope of the building, maintaining the first one, so without any demolition and any cost of demolition, but proposing some typical Italian material that are the ventilated facade created by brick element. In this way, it was possible to implement not only the performance of the building, but create a new aesthetical aspect of the building. So it is another aspect that for us, for the architects, is very important. So not only the energy consumption, the reduction of energy consumption, but thanks to this kind of architectural solution, it's possible to reach both the energy performance, the implementation of the performance, but the implementation of the aesthetical quality of the building. So in this way, when we create the scenarios, the cost of intervention will be balanced by a more effective building, more innovative building. So especially the public building has this mission to be reached. Another aspect is the, as I mentioned, the new architectural quality, of course, the reduction of energy demand, but overall the money saving, not because the strategies are very cheap, but because the costs are really spent in a good way. In this way, it's possible to reduce, comparing with the state of art, it's possible to reduce the energy for the heating as well as the energy for the cooling, because this kind of passive solution, especially the intervention in the envelope, are very advantageous for both, for the winter season as well as for the summer season in the Mediterranean country. So in this way, the costs are more optimized. With only one solution, it's possible to have 3 different levels of benefit: the energy benefit, the architectural quality, and of course, the aesthetical value of the building. Another best practice for us is in Spain, in Valladolid. They optimized the opportunity to have a retrofitting action, investigating innovative material, investigating innovative solution. So it is another project that we mentioned many times because the presence of a very good team of researchers, of engineers and architects combine a very good solution. And in this best practice, the rule of company, of small and medium enterprise, otherwise a company producing PV technology, was really more effective. The solution proposed is very innovative, very advanced, because they proposed the design, a strong passive design principles, with a compact design, optimizing the natural lighting, but especially introducing some shading elements, so optimizing the solar radiation control, and of course increasing and implementing the thermal mass, so the performance regarding the thermal insulation benefit. But besides, the integration of shading device will allow a new benefit for the building because the reduction of it gains during the summer season. So the reduction is a passive cooling strategies, so they can take benefit during the summer season. It is a direct benefit of the double skin facade, introducing this kind of element. But the solar radiation, it is useful to produce energy. So in the meantime, they reduce the gain inside for the cooling, for the passive cooling, but they will take benefit for the thermal component of the solar radiation to produce energy. So again, an architectural solution combined different benefit, reducing the cost, because with only one solution, we solve many problems altogether and take benefit from the aesthetical value and the architectural value of the building. They analyze this kind of best practice from the bioclimatic strategies, and they demonstrate many times how it's possible to integrate. This is a new solution, integrate the natural-based solution. So in this way, sometimes we can solve the energy problems throughout, thanks to the integration of green, of water, of some bioclimatic strategies, helping the creation of a new microclimatic effect. So taking some benefit from this. It is very interesting, especially for the student, to investigate this kind of project and this kind of best practice, because they will be more interested, to analyze all the performance, all the metabolism of the building, considering like a living organism, like a living element in a context. And it is very interesting because they explore how it's possible to reduce the energy, introducing some very nanotechnologies. So applying in experimental phase, the changing phase material. Again, the pilot project, especially in the public building, could be a very, very strategical occasion to experiment innovation, to combining the experimentation with the company, to test some innovative material. And it is a pilot project, and they are monitoring the benefit from nano materials, especially changing phase material and the introduction of sunlight collector using the optical fiber. And with this two solution, it is possible to changing the certification, the energy class of the building, certifying in an A level. So with a very cost reduction for the energy consumption, so with a very good solution about a very strategical technological integration. Which kind of team we need to optimize during the design phase, and we'll take some benefit from this. Of course, we need researcher, but as University Research Center, the Living Lab could be very useful for this. Researcher to define the methodology and to collect the best practice with the help of the student. Sometimes they could be involved for the data collection, to compile the experience, to organize the research documentation and so on. And the result of this phase could be capitalized, implementing the best practice collection that could be shared again in the main framework of the cross-border platform. So we can create like a living lab repository of best practice that is possible to share, to check and control and populate during this research activity. And for the building manager, it's possible to explore this kind of suggestion, this kind of best practice, and it's possible to motivate more ambitious target, because it is like a competition, no, between the public building, among the university, because it is a more competitive activity. So it's possible to suggest and to stimulate them to have a more ambitious target. The second activity, so after the collection and the investigation of best practice, starting to this kind of investigation, is possible to identify the strategies and technologies. It is one of the basis, on the basis of the pilot building framework of needs, now is really possible to change the criticalities and opportunities, integrating technologies for innovation with the support of companies. So starting from the framework of needs, it was the main result of the previous phase. Now, according to the criticalities, we can plan the new technologies. And to do this, we have another tool, another support tool, that is the abacus. In the abacus, we can find different level of suggestion. So starting from the architectural strategies, we can select some technologies because it is like a catalog where it's possible to have some description of the benefit and the feasibility of technologies. And another scale is the material level. So it's possible not only to define strategies and to set technology, but also to investigate materials according to the environmental target and according to the object of our retrofitting action. When we set the criticalities, especially in the three main pillars like architectural aspect, energy aspect, and energy efficiency and indoor comfort, it's possible to identify some combination. So we have, for instance, for the architectural aspect, we can investigate external wall as well as transparent element of the envelope, so the windows, otherwise the roof. For the energy aspect, we can investigate about the heating system, the cooling system, or the lighting, daylighting, natural lighting, or electricity. And for the comfort, of course, thermal hygrometric comfort, so which kind of technological solution will implement the indoor comfort, as well as the visual comfort, air quality, and acoustical comfort. So we searched and we collected, we create this kind of abacus of technology according to this kind of searching element. About the strategies, so we identified 10 strategies, because we think that at least we have to check the minimum strategies related to the passive solution. First of all, passive solution. Otherwise, investigating for the active solution, and then applied the management system. So the priority is to search investigating passive strategies, because like in the best practice, sometimes the architectural solution throughout the passive strategies can solve much more than one problem, much more than one criticalities, with the same price, with the same cost. So we can take some benefit and some very positive result from passive solution, especially again in Mediterranean area. So the strategy is to valorize the lighting, to allow natural ventilation, integrate and shading device, upgrade the opaque wall, so the element of opaque envelope, replace, of course, the fixture, so implementing the quality of the windows, integrate green elements, so creating an outdoor microclimate aspect, so implementing the relation between the buildings, so thanks to the envelope, with the outdoor climate condition. After this, we can take benefit from active system, so the strategies related to integration of renewable energy, considering efficient plan system, and of course, to implement all these strategies, it's possible to integrate digital management or building automation energy management system. For each strategies, we organize the description, the solution to criticalities, so how is possible to solve the problems related to the criticalities, which is the design approach that is possible to carry on, the combination of different strategies, so the relation that is possible to create among different solutions, and of course the related technology. So this is the concept of the knowledge organization of the others. As example, we are collecting because it is under construction. We day by day populate the collection in the database, introducing new, not only best practice, but new technological solution and material. So first, for example, this is one related to the valorization of the lighting. So we try to explain the benefit, we try to explain the methodology to obtain a very good highlighting, explain the benefit, but also the possibility to have a strong design and a not good design of this. So underline the criticalities and proposing the relation with criticalities and solution. So how is possible, thanks to the lighting, to improve the visual quality? Or how is possible, thanks to the lighting, to reduce the consumption of electrical light? So describing, so it is a training like a didactic material for engineer and architect in order to create step by step a good tool to search the best solution and to select the main technologies able to solve the criticalities. After this, we propose the design approach. So how is possible to introduce the lighting in the building? So opening in the opaque envelope, but is it possible to enlarge the existing opening according to national regulation? Is possible to create new windows or skylights? So many questions that is possible to check in order to introduce this kind of technologies. Or maybe improving the visual performance on the existing window. So presenting in an interactive way some technologies or some example and some link maybe with company that produce this kind of solution. Another solution is adopting a reflector to bring natural light inside buildings, proposing solar tube, optical fiber, light shelves, and so on. And on the right, it's possible to suggest some combination of the strategies. So it's like, remember that if you use natural daylighting, it's possible to obtain more natural ventilation, because if you improve the dimension of the window, you can open the window, so it's possible to take some benefit and to allow natural ventilation. Why this? Because it's very interesting to underline the integration of the benefit of the single strategies in order to optimize the benefit and to create some very smart scenarios, because you can reduce the cost selecting the best solution, the best mix of the solution. So it's very interesting to read in the same page the solution of criticalities, the design approach, but overall the combination of the strategies. And have a very first look on the technologies. So roof opening, external shading, light shell, that is possible to search in the second level. And besides, for allow natural ventilation, we propose the similar element. So which kind of natural ventilation, where is possible, to reduce the mechanical system, introducing some passive solution, cross ventilation, vertical ventilation, some solution that we have in the past. So the reference with the vernacular architecture. So how is possible now in a very advantage or innovative solution, but replicate the principle of vernacular architecture. So introducing some element of coming from historical buildings, so analyzing the benefit of the solution of the past. And again, the relation between solution and criticalities related to comfort, thermal comfort, air quality, energy consumption. So the similar criticalities that we need to solve with our action, and the design approach. So how is possible to introduce this kind of solution, and the combination of the strategies. So similar approach in the description of the different strategies. Some reference, some example. We search for different kind of solution, starting from the drawing, the description with the sketch. So to stimulate the creativity, of the designer and the energy engineering and the team, the design team. For instance, it is another one related to the outdoor microclimate comfort. So how is possible to introduce, for instance, solution, green solution or water to implement evaporative cooling, to implement the indoor comfort of external space, to reduce the solar radiation, so the heat gain, and so on. So the passive contribution implementing the surround microclimate comfort. Again, the link between solution and criticalities, and it's possible to see that sometimes when we work in the outside implementation of the quality, we can take more than one benefit. So again, we are pushing in this direction, working on the surround of the building, and not only on the surface, not only in the envelope, because we're considering the envelope of the building like the skin of our body, so we can take benefit in the implementation of both the skin and the indoor space, outdoor space, sorry. Regarding some example of technologies, this is just one example about the ventilated facade. More sentence to describe the benefit and to specify the solution, and a summary about the advantage and disadvantage, and especially the first evaluation. So in order to have a visualization of the benefit relating some point, the integrability with our building, the technological feasibility, the design effort, the maintenance effort, the budget range, the integration in the technological mix, because sometimes we fall in love with some technology and we think that could be the best. But if we analyze all together with a team some solution, maybe according to some criteria, is possible to have a better evaluation of this. Link with the strategies, of course, and the material, which is the typical material for the Mediterranean country, for an innovative or traditional solution. How is possible to combine a ventilated facade with a thermal insulation, for instance. So creating a different layer of the facade, the ventilated facade, in order to optimize the benefit. In the scale of the material, we are proposing some useful material, especially in order to improve the environmental quality of the building. So reducing the impact of the material and especially oriented the selection with natural or recycled material. So we are proposing to calculate the environmental impact thanks to the life cycle assessment or life cycle analysis. So it is another aspect that is very interesting to underline, especially related to the target, the first target, where it's possible to implement the quality, the environmental quality during the retrofitting action of the building. So we underline the benefit of natural listing, which are the natural material like cellulose, coconut, wood, or expanded cork, or recycled material from textile fiber or recycled from glass foam and so on. Investigating and proposing the inorganic and petrochemical materials at a very high level of environmental impact. And moving to the active system, to the active solution, we propose some best practices and some strategies related to the integration of renewable energies. For example, the introduction of photovoltaics. But we underline the opportunity to have the building integration of photovoltaic system. So proposing the photovoltaics not only like an energy plant, but like architectural material. So in this way, it's possible to emphasize and to underline the aesthetical value of the solution. And it's possible to have a key role in the production of energy, thanks to integration in the facade, in the transparent wall, integrating the windows. So optimizing the use and the benefit of photovoltaic, monocrystalline photovoltaics, otherwise amorphous, in the architectural element. And I like to share with you some experience for this in a retrofitting action of existing building. It is a public building, and it is a children's hospital in Florence. We use some double glass transparent panels. It was quite 20 years ago, so one of the first innovative solution. But it was very interesting because now it was a pilot project as well. It is a demonstrator that is possible to have a retrofitting action using both. It is a sun space, so collecting solar gain and heat gain during the winter season. In the summer, it's possible to open everything, and we have a similar effect thanks to the presence of PV and thanks to the architectural aspect, no, the curvy aspect of the green space. So it is an example that we propose many times as best practice of this. And according to the innovation aspect of the living lab during the retrofitting action, it is another pilot project that we did in another city near Lucca, another public building. But it was the occasion to introduce many innovative material. We define together with the company. So we stimulate the company, and the company assisted the research team to investigate a very innovative envelope, new envelope for the building. It was very useful because, like a sandwich, we design a prototype integrating transparent PV, but integrating shading device, very advanced glass for the windows, and especially the heat recovery in the upper and down area of the prototype. And the pilot project, the building became really a pilot project where we tested, we integrated, and we experimented this kind of innovation. And of course, we implemented some innovation. This is another aspect of double glass photovoltaic, transparent photovoltaic that we integrate in the transparent roof. Besides to create some shading device, but to implement the comfort inside, to create a microclimate inside in this kind of covered garden, and producing more electricity thanks to the integration of photovoltaic panels. Another example of best practice of retrofitting action, it is in Cagliari, another city in Italy, when we propose to integrate the photovoltaic like shading element. The budget was very, very short, very low, and we propose again to reduce the energy gain during the summer season, but taking benefit from the natural light, of course, in the office building inside. And with a very good partnership with the company, searching and investigating for the different color of the photovoltaic cells. So the building became like a catalog, like a demonstrator of how it's possible to integrate the transparent element with a different color, with a different effect, with a visual comfort inside. It was, now it is an old project because it was 10 years ago, but I think it is still best practice. This is the vision of the integration of the photovoltaic, the difference of integration near the windows of the office space and the integration in the opaque wall of the stairs and the lift. The other, I don't know, do you prefer to have 5 minutes? To have a break, or 5 minutes break, or we can...
Yes, of course, Professor Trovatore, if you wish to have a 5-minute break for you, because you have been explaining all this time and showcasing us the third step, we can have a short 5-minute break for you as well, and then continue.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So everyone, we will be back in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, if we are ready to continue, we can proceed with the next presentation. Dr. Trovatore, are you here?
Yes, yes.
We were presenting the third step of the toolkit framework structure, the planning and design step. Are you going to continue? Oh, okay, thank you. So you are sharing your screen. We can see it now.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Two slides to complete the second activity, which is the team that we need to involve and which is the rule of each categories in this in the Living Lab. Of course, the researcher, they play a key role to enlarge the abacus, introducing more strategies, more technologies, and the company, as I mentioned before, the company will provide their technologies. So some prototype, maybe, no, creating some prototype, or searching for innovative materials, or creating some research activity for development and innovation of technological and also material as well. For the student, is a very useful activity, because they could be involved to search, cataloging, and it is a very attractive didactic activity. So all this kind of result could be capitalized again in the abacus, and populating every time the abacus with new solution and new technologies, new example. And of course, the abacus of renovation technologies will represent a real support tool, again, for the building manager and for the public organization that can be interested to disseminate this and to implementing much more this abacus, creating more awareness in the cities and in other stakeholders. About the research and building energy, they need to implement their effort during the activity in the Living Lab, a strong coordination, but also a strong experience. So the technical coordinator of the Living Lab has a very important role to fostering the team and to select and to orient the selection, to identify appropriate strategies, technologies, and material to renovate the pilot building. So it is a very coordination action in order to support and to orient both the team of researcher and building and energy managers. About the companies, I mentioned that they will stimulate new prototypes, new research innovation projects, and maybe the public organization could identify new funding or new call for other projects and proposals. So supporting this kind of experimentation. It is a positive and proactive circle, and I think the Living Lab will be very proactive for this. And all the list of renovation strategies could be very dynamic collection put in the platform. So again, enriching the common cross-border platform database. Now, moving to the creation of renovation scenarios, it is a very key activity again, because starting from the planning and design, now we have to create the mix of technologies. So we know we have the knowledge about technologies, about the strategies, we set the target, we know all the performance, and how is possible to mix the technologies, create some integration, and moving from the existing building to the future building. So it is now the tactic phase. Investigating the practical aspect, combining the target with the solution, with the strategies, but also with the cost. So the mix of technologies needs now to integrate it, the existing building to satisfy the minimum requirement, of course, but to address to the maximum the performance, overcoming them and orienting to the quality target. And if we define and we represent in a graphic element this kind of approach, of course we can demonstrate according to the 4 pillars, so architectural quality, energy efficiency, indoor comfort, environmental impact, which is the actual level of the building, so the baseline of existing building, describing the performance, okay? It is a graphic representation, but here we can introduce all the quantitative data relating to the knowledge framework and relating to the analysis of criticalities. So we can represent in this kind of summary all the situation of the building. Then we can represent the minimal requirements, so the level that we need to reach by law. So of course, we need to investigating the technology that allow us to reach the minimal requirement. But we can represent our vision, our target, the quality target that we defined in the phase 0. So creating different scenarios, because it's, as you can see, it's like a mathematical system, no? Where we have 3, 4 more different variables, and we can fix some element and decided which is more important for us, which is the weight of the different driver of the retrofitting action, and which is the level of improvement that we want to reach with our design process and retrofitting process. So we can create the scenarios number 1, investigate and select the mix of technology. For instance, we can we decide to point the access of the insulation in the wall, so the wall thermal insulation, the changing of the windows, or the implementation of the roof insulation. Selecting the technology, we analyze and we have the cost number 1. So in order to move from the existing building to the future building, we describe, we project, we design. So we have a graphic elaboration of the details, the integration in the building, the plan, or in the BIM system, the different technology, analyzing the cost, and analyzing, thanks to the performance simulation during the design phase, which is the minimum requirement if we reach the minimum, and which is the level of the quality target, and so on. Maybe we can point to architectural aspect, and we put the maximum target, quality target on this. It is generally the best strategical solution because we have some direct impact in the energy efficiency, in the indoor comfort, and in the environmental impact if we considering the best materials and best solution. Generally, if we select as a main driver the architectural quality, as demonstrated in the best practice analysis on the case studies, the architectural solution, like for instance, double skin facade, shading device, and so on, we have direct impact in the implementation of energy efficiency, in the implementation of indoor comfort, with the same cost, so without any additional cost for the different strategies. So it is very strategical mix, okay? Take care of this in the evaluation of the scenarios. For instance, if we put more emphasis, so we define our target, point the accent in the energy efficiency, because it's not possible to transform the architectural aspect, is the building is very historical one, so it's not possible to change the facade, to introduce any other element of qualification of the envelope, and so on. We need to implement energy efficiency. So we point the accent implementing the target related to the plan, for instance, or the introduction of renewable energy. So we maximize the improvement of this element. But it's not guarantees that we have an implementation of architectural quality and of indoor comfort. If we plan, if we, for instance, introduce 10 kilowatt of photovoltaic, generally, I don't know if we implement the architectural quality of the building or if we improve the indoor comfort. It's not so related, the benefit. And also, it's not so related with the environmental impact. So we can move the baseline and we have a cost, but without the benefit, the direct and indirect benefit. This is the example of scenario 2. Maybe we can have the lamps, we change the lamps, we put some more efficient thermal system, for instance, heat pumps, or maybe we can introduce smart energy management systems. So we have an amount of cost number 2, okay? We have the baseline, we move to energy to obtain the minimum requirement and to set the selection of technology and materials to enrich the target quality, but related to the energy aspect. In this way, if we analyze the benefit regarding the common target of the architectural quality, maybe the indoor comfort, thanks to the change of the lamps, will take some benefit. But of course, the architectural quality doesn't change. Also, environmental impact may be very little change. So with the cost 2, we have no indirect impact in all the building. So the meaning is that we need to spend, but only for reach some requirement and to implement some specific target, okay? What's the meaning? That we have to implement strong collaboration between researcher and company, especially company, because we need more information about the cost, the performance of the technology and the materials, and we need the experience of building an energy manager in order to create a very good scenarios. Obtain the best cost and optimizing the performance regarding the cost of technologies. The student will be involved in the co-design, especially implementing the design workshop, implementing the seminars with the companies, the seminars with some expert. And of course, public organization can be take some interest of this kind of activity. But after we combining the technology, creating different scenarios, we need to simulate, of course, the scenarios and to evaluate the scenarios. So in this other activity is very important to evaluate in a quantitative way, so to have a predictive tool in order to analyze and to evaluate our strategies and solutions. In this way, it's possible to visualize the transformation of the existing building with the integration of renovation technologies, of the new materials, and so on. So create some 3D vision, virtual tour of the new building, or sketch, or details. So this aspect of architectural design, especially for the architectural quality, is very interesting to demonstrate the new aesthetical value and to demonstrate the real future vision of the building. But we have another aspect of the simulation, because especially to discuss with the owner and to discuss with other public administration, it's necessary not only to have the architectural vision of the future building, but to compare the benefit of, for instance, energy reduction. So some energy simulation tools, like before, Gisela explained before, it's possible to demonstrate and to quantify how many kilowatt for square meter for here is possible to reduce thanks to our solution. So it is a graphic representation of the simulation scenarios, and is a very effective communication strategies to discuss and to evaluate during the team activity, and especially with the company, and especially with the owner of the building. Because it's possible, thanks to the visualization, point the accent in the different solution. So it is a support system tool, decision support system tool, okay? Quantified in the very easy time. If you apply the BIM environmental technology, it's possible to have this relation between architectural solution, energy consumption, cost, maintenance, so all the elements in the same time. So for the communication aspect, for the evaluation of the scenarios, we will present in the next days with Professor Camillo Lano the benefit of the application of BIM, because this simulation, this evaluation of performance and cost and architectural integration is possible to have in the meantime. So to analyze the scenarios in the very, very short time. Who will be involved? All together, especially researcher, building energy, and of course the company, to define methodology, to select the best tool, to have the graphic simulation of the building, but also to evaluate the performance, the energy performance of the building, and to create the different scenarios with a mix of technology. Students, we can learn from this activity. They can take some experience investigating, of course, the tool, and understanding the value and the deep importance of the scenarios. But how is possible to choose the best scenario? So we have 1, 2, 3 different mix of technologies. And which are the criteria to select the scenarios?
I'm sorry, Professor Tobadore, can I ask a question regarding your previous slide? You mentioned.
Yes, sure.
I can add it in the end of your presentation, but I wanted to know regarding, you mentioned that the students can experience a simulation of scenarios. This is understandable, but do you differentiate about how you approach the students based on their age? Because as you can understand, students with in the different classes or younger do not have the same concept and the same ideas related to the more experienced ones. I understand that.
Sure, this is a very, thank you for the question, because it is a very key aspect. When I speak about student in this phase, we need high level of students. So maybe for the thesis student or PhD student, it could be better. Because as you said, the first or second year of student, they don't have the capacity and the skill, no, to implement this kind. But you can involve them for 3D visual, so the organization of architecture, the architectural aspects, so the visualization, for instance, in the simulation or the Photoshop integration of the technology. So according to the level of knowledge and skill of the student, you can involve them in a different action activity, okay? Of course, maybe if they have some skill about the simulation tool, they could be involved to analyze the performance. but also to create a 3D model, or to create a digital twin, or to create a modeling, mass modeling of the building and of the technology.
So maybe as the first step of the methodology that you're creating, the assessment of students is critical of how to help within the concept. Okay, this is
yes, to set the level of their knowledge and skills, and so to involve them in different activity. So it's better a map of the student, creating maybe little team of the student where there is maybe a PhD student with 2 junior, one senior with 2 or 3 junior, according to the task that they have to develop. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Also with the supervision of the researcher and the expert, of course. But I think that it's possible to valorize each student, starting to the first year, maybe not only in this phase, but for instance, in the first year to create the survey, so to search for the dimension of the building, to create a geometrical survey, and so on. As
yes,
well
of
as,
course.
okay.
So since these kind of students are pretty much dealing with these problems later on, it is good to have them be involved in some part with this project according to their capabilities. Of course, I understand it. Thank you very much.
In a single task, otherwise, if the skills are very advanced in the main approach, to complete the overview of the retrofitting action. How is possible to choose the best scenarios? So we have 2 different methodology. Of course, the first one is the cost-benefit analysis. Okay, so we have the technological mix, we create the scenarios, we know the cost. So with the simulation, we know the performance. So it's possible to calculate the payback period. It's like an investment, okay? So focusing on the budget of the investment and the scenarios is possible to quantify the benefit in terms of financial benefit, okay? So we can transform the performance and the energy saving in money saving, okay? Is a typical of the evaluation of the investment. If we introduce 10 kilowatt of photovoltaic, we know how many kilowatt we can produce during 1 year. We know the price of the energy come from the electricity coming from the fossil resource source, and can we evaluate the payback period? Is a typical and traditional approach. But for the public building, we suggest to focalize the multi-criteria analysis. So introducing different elements, introducing the evaluation of the target, the quality target. And to do this, I propose you an example. It was another international action about the school, defining common criteria to evaluate the energy mix. It was very similar, starting from the energy audit, the choice of the technological mix, the concept design, the scenario evaluation. So the aim, we propose the multi-criteria, and the aim of multi-criteria methodology is to have a critical evaluation of the different solution and different mix that we create, in this case for the school energy reduction. And throughout this procedure, the decision maker have a quantitative overview of the qualitative aspect. So it's possible to combine the quantitative with the qualitative element, combining in the same framework, analyzing this way the best solution point the accent to the target. For the multi-criterial analysis, of course, we have to decide the context, but it's like an example, the selection of technological mix, of course, identify the objective related to the quality target, identify the criteria and the specific criteria that reflect the mission of the retrofitting action. So the innovative vision that we want to obtain. And in this way, it's possible to describe, of course, the performance of different criteria among, for instance, the expected performance of each criteria, assign some weight. No, we can balance. We have 4 drivers, so we can balance the weight of each driver and identify the direct impact as well as the indirect, so the intangible aspect that is possible to evaluate. I show you this kind of example. For instance, in this case, we have only 3 drivers: the energy consumption, the economical evaluation, and the environmental quality. We analyze the specific criteria: vertical wall, roof, floor, windows, gas heater. For the economical evaluation, the criteria of cost of vertical wall, cost of the roof, cost of the doors, cost of the windows, and so on. For the environmental quality, the indoor comfort and the comfort on the environment. If you see the evaluation scale and the measure unit are different, how is possible to combine euro for square meters with the kilowatt? Or 3 bed, so the qualitative aspect with the quantitative element. So to do this, it's possible to have a mathematical aspect, okay? So assign some weighting and star rating, creating a preference index, and after this to create a matrix of the general criteria. It's a mathematical methodology to have a hierarchy protocol. I move very fast because it could be very boring to see all these mathematical aspects. There are some software where it's possible to integrate and to collect the criteria, to put the indicators, the scale of indicator, the unit of measure of indicator, to put the weight and the preference, no, among the different criteria. And this way it's possible to have an homogeneous index, no? So the measure units are different, but we can normalize the value, so it's possible to compare this. In this way, with a mathematical tool, it's possible to point some criticalities in the different scenarios. So it is a matrix of normalized value, and at the end to have a comparison, a quantitative comparison of the different criteria with a value, with an index. And it's possible to analyze the index, so the one is better than B, the A is higher than B, and so on. So it's possible to have a quantitative evaluation of qualitative element, quantitative element, the cost, the dimension, so different criteria, but with the same mathematical relation. So it's possible to analyze and to have the sum of this. In this way, multi-criteria matrix will be integrated in the interactive platform as a common system of analysis and evaluation of different scenarios, so we can take benefit of this. It could be a software, it could be an Excel files, Generally, there are some tool organized to where it is possible to insert some criteria, the weight of the different criteria, the priority of each one, and so on. It's very easy to calculate. And in this way, the multi-criteria decision will be a decision support system, and it becomes an useful tool for designer and engineer, as well as a communication tool to demonstrate the value of the scenarios and to support the selection of the best scenarios, discussing with the public administration and the decision maker, integrating the environmental requirement, the environmental quality aspect, not only the cost benefit, not only the relation between the performance and the cost, the production and the cost, but have a very enlarged and expanded overview of the global performance of the building, integrating the comfort, integrating the architectural aspect, the economical aspect. So for us, the 4 pillars of our project. And to do this, of course, the main rule are defined by researcher and building energy manager. The researcher could be defined the analytic methodology, and the building energy provided experience in the definition of the weight, for instance, on the selection of the index, the indicators of the multi-criteria. And together they can set the framework of multi-criteria analysis. Generally, the company are not involved in this phase because it is a strategical phase as well. Because as you can understand, if we assign a weight to the indicator, specific indicator, we can move the balance of the evaluation. So it is a political aspect according to the target that we can reach, and according to the orientation of the retrofitting action. So it is a scientific, let me see this critical point. It is a scientific methodology, but remember that you will select the indicator and you will assign the weight. So you can move the balance of multi-criteria analysis. It is scientific methodology because thanks to the normalization of the weight and the normalization of the value, you can compare different indicators, but you will decide which one will be more or less important in your strategy. So it is a strategical, again, a strategical aspect to orient and to, of course, to foster the quality of the retrofitting action. I think that according to the planning and design phase, the selection of multi-criteria analysis indicator will combining the good solution of the retrofitting action according to the political and the strategical definition of the quality target. So to do this, of course, starting for the framework of needs, according to the selection of best practice, technologies, performance, and cost, we can have a global vision of the future building. And in this way, it's possible. We have the tool, the instrument, the very interactive and communication tool to discuss, of course, with the public organization and with the owner, with the financial aspect, maybe with the banks, or we can apply this to find some financial funds. So the multi-criteria analysis will support. It's not only a decision support system, but will support the retrofitting process as a communication tool to demonstrate the value and to demonstrate the benefit of the retrofitting action. After this, it's possible to plan the intervention. So we select the best scenarios. So we have a mix of technologies, and we can decide to do all of the technologies together or to exploit and to plan in the different time, according maybe to the budget, because sometimes we can have scenarios with a higher budget. So it's possible to have a plan of the intervention. It's like a puzzle. It's like a picture, no, of the future building, and we can assign sometimes to the single technologies, or maybe are so integrated that we need to have a building section and the intervention altogether. So it's possible to have an overview of the cost and of the budget. So this is the planning, the plan of intervention. And this is the rule of energy managers and of course the owner in the public organization, because can help to discover financial opportunities, local, national funds, so to support the global retrofitting action or the single sub-project. And when we establish the single sub-project, we need to organize the preliminary project, all the materials that we need to have approvement from the public authorities or from the other regulation, national or international regulation. So according to the procedures foreseen at national and local level, we need to organize all the deliverables and all the output that we need to complete the process. And in this phase, it's possible again to foster the team, introducing again the support of the companies, because sometimes they can get some details, some information, some details of technological materials. So implementing the architectural drawing as well as the technological element of the project. And the public organization, we need to be approved. So it is the final stakeholder, but it is the last step or the first step of the retrofitting action. So we complete this part for the knowledge framework, for the criticalities, supporting the design, creating the scenarios, and to plan the intervention. And then we hope to have the budget, of course, and to have the opportunity to implement the intervention of the building. So start the other phase, that is the fourth phase that we see in the next days.
Thank you very much, Professor Trovadore, and of course for your presentation and the input you have given us regarding the planning and the design step and phase. And of course, I totally agree with you that when it comes to a public organization and a public building, this is one of the most crucial steps, because there is a possibility that you have done all the work, all the multi-criteria decision, and they would like to continue their own way with their own path, focusing on a specific thing. So maybe the multi-criteria, as you mentioned, can be balanced using different weights, and we can say, but it is a methodological approach, it is a scientific approach, and we should try to incorporate it as much as we can.
Yes, but also it's used to plan the intervention, because sometimes the public administration said, but we have no budget for this. And with the plan, you can demonstrate that it's possible to split with the different steps and to start maybe introducing some technology or some action implementing, but in a general framework, in a general vision. So it's possible to plan and have a good timing of the intervention.
Okay, this is understandable. One question I have about the Malta criteria, as you mentioned, regarding the planning. I can understand that there are different weights and different decisions that need to be made, and what is important and what is not. Have you, general question, have you, in a specific building, in a specific case, did you have to exchange on different scenarios and on different multi-criteria analysis based on the particularities of an event? For example, now we are facing an energy crisis, so maybe the energy consumption and the energy measures, I can say, are the foremost what we would like to point out. I want to actually ask if for a different building, different case scenarios of this multi-criteria analysis have been made, and if some aspects were later decided on what to focus.
Absolutely, yes. It's very useful because if you apply the cost benefit analysis, it's the similar without taking consideration the critical aspect of the building, because you compare the energy performance with the cost, without taking consideration the situation of the building, the other situation of the architectural aspect of environmental impact. If you apply the multi-criteria, it is useful because you can select the best indicator and to apply the weight. And the weight is related to the strategies and of course, the vision. So if we are in the period of the energy crisis, of course, the weight of energy efficiency, it could be higher compared with the aesthetical value of the building. Do we agree? So you have some freedom to move and to calibrate the criticalities, of course, of the building, and to move the weight of indicators in order to orient the selection.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's much more flexible, and so I think it's much more useful because you can customize the evaluation, the multi-criteria evaluation according to the typology of the building, to the criticality of the building, to the dialogue with the public administration. So it's much more flexible, okay? Instead, compared to the cost benefit that is only a financial balance. Okay.
Exactly. So it is pretty much measurable, the cost and the benefit, energy consumption, etc. So as we can see, the time as the time passes, different weights and different indicators are used for this analysis, because there is the environmental factor of what really goes on with our nowadays, and also a building may have.
This is like a rule of the expert, because it's depending on the experience of the energy manager or the researcher to select the best indicators, no, in order to underline some aspect. For instance, some aspect related to the critical point of energy, or maybe to the comfort of the people, or maybe to the environmental asset, or to the recycled material. So you can point the accent and stimulate some way and some
yes, and for us in Greece, and I'm sure it may be the same for Italy as well, there is also the historical value of the buildings in some cases, especially when we're dealing with public buildings and the municipality buildings, that they want to preserve the character, etc., that some measures may be profitable, as you say, but they're not allowed even by archaeological standards, sorry.
Yeah, and so, if you apply the cost-benefit analysis, you can do anything. But if you apply in this monumental cultural heritage building the multi-criteria aspect, maybe you can define some scenarios and demonstrate the value of the technological mix.
Yes, and this is pretty much preferable for the regions or municipalities, the public sector as well, because they
Yes.
see the different options and they can focus on a specific thing that they would like to showcase. So this was my question. Thank you very much for the answer.
You are
So-
really welcome. And the aspect of multi-criteria analysis is one of my key topics. So I put all my passion in this aspect.
So thank you very much. At this time, is there another question for Dr. Trovatore for her presentation regarding the steps, the planning and design, and of course, at the later on, the multi-criteria decision and the aspect? Let me see. No, at this time, I think
Okay.
there's not. Oh, no, there's another question. So today we were supposed to continue with the fourth step, but
I think we can stop now because it's 6:30.
yes, we are
Yes, instead to
out of
start
schedule.
with another big step. Yes, because tomorrow there is the presentation of Professor Olano about the best.
The beam,
Yes,
the
the
beam.
methodology of the beam.
So we will have to move the next steps in a further in another session, another delay. We will
Yes, sure.
communicate it.
I suppose. Yes, I suppose it's better.
Maybe we can, if we have time.
Yes, because
tomorrow.
we finish with the design and planning phases, and the next one is the intervention. But before to explain the intervention, it's better to focalize the application of BIM to foster the design phase. Okay.
Okay. And for
complete
tomorrow,
this.
because I'm not sure if everyone has a BIM experience, etc. Do you know if it's going to be in how can I say this? A first step, or we're gonna see the methodology, but
No,
we're
but
gonna
it will be like a simulation. So
okay.
I asked to Professor Olano to simulate. So it is not important to know the BIM or to have the practical experience of the BIM. It is like a presentation of the benefit and some experience where the BIM was applied.
Yes, this is good for the participants as well, because some of them do not have the technical expertise. Maybe they are from municipalities, etc., and they want to showcase.
No, the first time we thought about this, we prefer like a workshop, no, to stimulate the target. But if the target is not homogeneous and it is not, they have not skills about the BIM, it's better to have this kind of simulation, no?
This is understandable, yes, of course, because some of us are engineers, some are not. So maybe some have practice, some have not, and it is understandable that we are a little bit of a different level. Of course, all of us want to know about energy efficiency and the measures, and of course, the outcomes of the project. So at this time, I think we can stop for today. If you don't have any problem with this, I thank you very much for today's participation. Of course,
really welcome
to you, Dr. Trovatore, and of course to Professor Trovatore, and of course Dr. Gisela Calgano that participated in the previous.
Yes, about the training material, I'm asking. We were searching and evaluating with SUA. That maybe is better to collect in the medical sure or SEACAP website the video and then disseminate, okay? Because we are organizing in the framework of the project the toolkit, so it is not the final version is ongoing, you know, under.
This is understandable, and of course, as I mentioned yesterday, we have decided as a project to also create a YouTube channel to showcase this road, and I will ask your consent, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you for this. So only some days and some wait to define the strategies for disseminate this material. Okay.
Of course. So thank you very much. Thank you to you too, and the University, of course, of Florence for having this material and showcasing to us. And of course, to all participants in today's session that were here, that were willing to answer the question in the I want to say garden answers 3, something like that.
Answer garden. Okay.
And of course,
Yes, we select in order to stimulate.
yet it was really
Okay.
good idea. I really like to tell you the truth. And of course, if everyone wants a question or they want to have the results of these answers, we will be able to facilitate them. So thank you very much, and thank you for your
You're
patience.
really welcome. See you tomorrow in the next.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.